So I got an email tonight on Facebook from a friend. It's amazing how restaurants are just clueless and chefs are clueless about wild salmon and what really wild salmon is. So here's a friend. He sends me a message. Hey, I'm ordering wild salmon at a restaurant. It's Norwegian. Credible? Question mark. So the restaurant told him that this salmon is wild Norwegian salmon, is what this restaurant is selling him. It's what they're telling their guests. I see this all the time. First off, you can't have wild salmon from the Atlantic Ocean available on a regular commercial basis. It doesn't exist. It just doesn't exist. So if you want wild salmon, you have to look at the Pacific Ocean. The Pacific Ocean is where it's at, from California all the way up into Alaska. Sure can go over to Russia and China, but that's not what chefs are buying unless they're buying a frozen coho salmon or sockeye salmon that might be caught and packaged in China or Russia. And in very, 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 very extreme cases, you're going to get stuff from Russia like fresh in like December, but that's really not happening. As far as the Atlantic Ocean, as soon as you see Atlantic Ocean salmon is all farm raised, with the exception of one or two very small pockets in Scotland where maybe somewhere else where they're getting wild salmon on a very, very small scale, like 90 metric tons per season, and that's it. See, we've decimated the ocean on the Atlantic Ocean for salmon. We've totally decimated it. If you look at the stats, John Robbins in his one book, Food Revolution, has some great stats on how we've actually depleted the stock of wild salmon in the Atlantic Ocean because of farming. See, salmon farming has a direct impact because they put salmon farms in the migratory path of wild salmon. What happens is these salmon farms have such disease, they're riddled with disease and filth because you have these salmons that are packed, literally two per size of a bathtub. So picture your average bathtub and imagine putting two full-grown salmon in there. Well, that's what they have to live in. So they pack these salmon in these pens. Okay, so the sustainable ones, the so-called sustainable salmon farms, have one salmon per bathtub. These are the ones that say they have a low density, right? That's what low density is. One salmon, one bathtub. So they put all these salmon together in these feedlots and they pump them full of these growth hormones and stimulants and fake food and food they're not supposed to be eating, and they crap all over the place, and there's disease everywhere, and there's salmon flu, and there's sea lice. And what happens when the baby salmon swim off the when they spawn, they swim out of the rivers and back into the ocean. They swim right past these salmon farms, right? That the diseases and the salmon lice just attach themselves to them. These little tiny baby salmon, these fry, have no chance. Their immune system isn't developed. They have no chance. They have these sea lice that attack them, and they're swimming out to sea. And this is where it's happening. This is why salmon farming has a direct correlation on the population of wild salmon. Wherever they put salmon farms, it's shown that the wild salmon population decreases. And we think because we're eating farmed salmon that we're saving a wild salmon. That's not the case. We are destroying the wild salmon from farmed salmon. Go to my website, nofarmedsalmon.com. Check it out. But the point of this video is you can't trust chefs. You can't trust restaurants. They're there to sell you, mislead you, and charge as much money as they can. And a lot of them just have no clue what they're talking about. I busted some of the best restaurants across America, including Wolfgang Puck, on lying about the salmon on their menu. Alex Garcianelli, that Iron Chef winner, or whatever she did, she was totally misleading people on her. Go to my website. The phone calls are on there. I'm on with these chefs. They have no clue. And she has like 2 or 3 Michelin stars or 1 Michelin star, whatever she has. She has Michelin stars at her restaurant, Butter. They have no clue, but they're telling you and they're charging you, and you think that you're eating this pristine wild salmon, and you're eating this stuff that's full of dioxins, PCBs, hormones, fake food coloring, and all this crap. And it's just like, oh, but they're just out there just these restaurants drive me crazy. So here's a friend at a high-end restaurant in New York City that they're just blatantly saying, we have farmed Norwegian salmon. It's not farmed Norwegian salmon. It's wild. They're saying they have wild. It's not wild. It's farmed. It's farmed, farmed, farmed. And I emailed them back. I said, farmed, farmed, farmed. That's what it is. Plain, flat, and simple. You can't trust these people. This is like one of the most, I'm so passionate about food fraud. And this is one of the most items that restaurants just get it wrong. Chefs get it wrong. Most chefs think because salmon comes from the ocean, because it's in the ocean, even though it's in pens, okay, in pens and feedlots, that they think it's wild. Well, that's where they raise salmon. They raise salmon in the ocean and in farms. Go to my website, nofarmsalmon.com. Check out the implications of farm salmon. And there's really no reason that I would personally eat farm salmon, and I haven't eaten farm salmon in 14 years. In 14 years, I haven't eaten farm salmon. Check it out, nofarmsalmon.com. I'm Chef Marcus Giuliano. And don't get duped when you're at a restaurant. Don't listen to these hucksters, to these thieves, to these con artists. Know what your salmon is. Go into fishchoice.com. Go to Monterey Bay Aquarium. Google it. Google wild farmed salmon, wild salmon season. Check it out. Google farm salmon. Get the facts. When you go into restaurants, you have to be on guard. You just can't take what they're saying. You have to be on guard.